What's up? My name is Panshil and welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's castes in India and Shaadi.com and how that perpetuates the caste system. Marriage culture is completely different in India. I have a huge problem with it, mainly because most of it is a farce. A lot of it is arranged marriages. Is there love in these? No. Maybe just for show. Is it authentic? No. Is it mainly a ceremony to parade around the bride and groom to the community? Yes. Is it based on the idea of purity and pollution, which is essentially rooted in casteism? Definitely. First, let's try to understand what the caste system is. If you're from India, I'm sure you already know this, but quick recap. Long time ago, there was this dude called Manu who wrote this book called the Manav Dharma Shastra or the Manu Smriti. It was basically like a code of conduct for people. It says that there's this one god and we all come from different parts of the god. The Brahmins or the priests come from the mouth region. The Kshatriyas or the warriors come from the arms. The Vaishyas or the businessmen and traders come from the thighs. The Shudras or the peasants and commoners come from the feet. And the Ati Shudras or Dalits or untouchables or however you may like to call them come below that, below the feet. They're not descended from gods or anything. They're the ones who are meant to do all the dirty work like cleaning the streets and picking up your shit. This system of graded inequality was and still is being practiced by the Hindus of the world. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in his paper Caste in India had said that as long as caste in India does exist, Hindus will hardly intermarry or have any social intercourse with others. Let's focus on the intermarry part. Okay, so I'm on the Google Play Store right now, and literally the only thing I have typed in the search bar is Shaadi. I'm actually going to read out how many variations of the same app are there based on community. First, you have, of course, Shaadi.com. There's Telugu matrimony, Tamil matrimony, Marathi Shaadi, Muslim Shaadi, Select Shaadi,
Punjabi Shaadi, Rajput Shaadi, Gujarati Shaadi, Malayali Shaadi, Hans Matrimony, Maratha Shaadi, Kannada Shaadi, Arora Shaadi, Odia Shaadi, Gupta Shaadi, Yadav Shaadi, Nair Shaadi, Erwa Shaadi, Shatambar Shaadi, Kama Shaadi, Asami Shaadi, Jat Shaadi, Jain Shaadi, Lingayat Shaadi, Kashyap Shaadi, Buddhist Shaadi, Sunni Shaadi, Sikh Shaadi, Catholic Shaadi, Christian Shaadi, Brahmin Shaadi, Marwadi Shaadi, Sindhi Shaadi, Patel Shaadi, Khatri Shaadi,
It's never ending.
Shia Shaadi, Nadar Shaadi, Gursikh Shaadi, Reddy Shaadi,
Parsi Shaadi, Gauda Shaadi. Now, the thing is, why are there so many? What is the need? Where did this come from? Ambedkar in his essay says that the peoples of India form a homogeneous whole. The various races of India occupying definite territories have more or less fused into one another and do possess cultural unity, which is the only criterion of a homogeneous population. Now, if there is a homogeneous population already, how does caste even come into play? Caste in India means an artificial chopping off of the population into fixed and definite units, each one prevented from fusing into another through the custom of endogamy. Now, what does endogamy mean or endogamy? Endogamy means that you can basically marry within your community, or in this case, within your caste. Did you know that only 5% of marriages in India are intercaste marriages where the bride and groom belong to different caste groups? Couples engaging in intercaste marriage face social seclusion, the loss of family support, and violence, sometimes even amounting to murder. It's a very weird and illogical way of going about things. Casteism, I mean. I, for one, personally know of people who have ended long term relationships because they belong to different castes and because of the fear of not having family support and losing out on inheritance and stuff like that. Where's the love? There's no love. Anyway, let's get back to the origin story of caste. So one theory says that this chopping off of the population into castes happened because of this Manu dude who wrote that book, and because it was considered a holy book, people followed it. Western scholars, on the other hand, believe that caste came about because of the following reasons: occupation, survivals of tribal organization, the rise of a new belief, crossbreeding, and migration. Now, these stratifications existed in other societies and cultures as well. If they are not peculiar only to India, but are common to the world, why is it that they did not form caste on any other parts of the planet? Why did caste come about only in India? While doing research for this video, I came across this very interesting academic paper called Smart, Responsible and Upper Caste Only, measuring caste attitudes through large-scale analysis of matrimonial profiles. And the researchers basically analyzed over 300,000 Shaadi.com profiles to measure how open people were to intercaste marriage. Profiles in which individuals were posting for themselves are more open to intercaste marriages than those which were posted by family for individuals with identical demographics. So I guess there is change happening if a person is operating on their own. But if families are involved, they're still a little old fashioned. Family members of more educated individuals are less supportive of their relatives being in an intercaste marriage. This infantilization of adults results in moral policing and consequently less openness to intercaste marriage and an obvious lack of agency over their own life. According to their research, Brahmins who occupy the highest rung in the social hierarchy are least open to intercaste marriage. How interesting.
When you look at arranged marriage, it doesn't really satisfy anybody. You know, it satisfies the need to be able to hoard wealth and to keep the families pure. But there is a diminishment of the humanity of people involved because they're not making choices that aren't, you know, choices of compromise. They're also denying the humanity of so many of the people that they don't want to see because of the purity piece. But also the system itself is at the core of the violence of the caste system. And that to tell a different story of how people brave the journeys to cross caste and to cross faith divides in a time that is so fraught with violence, which is, you know, the genocidal moment that we're in. That's the story I wanted to hear.
We shall be well advised to recall at the outset that the Hindu society, in common with other societies, was composed of classes, and the earliest known are the Brahmins or the priestly class, the Kshatriyas or the military class, the Vaishyas or the merchant class, and the Shudra or the artisan and menial class. Particular attention has to be paid to the fact that this was essentially a class system in which individuals, when qualified, could change their class, and therefore classes did change their personnel. At some time in the history of the Hindus, the priestly class socially detached themselves from the rest of the body of the people and through a closed door policy became a caste by itself. Ambedkar hypothesizes that this is what happened. The Brahmins one day decided that, yeah, we have enough people, let's just have a closed door policy. We will marry within ourselves. And if you're not born Brahmin, you can no longer be a Brahmin from now on. We're sorry. Why did these subdivisions or classes become self enclosed or endogamous? Endogam, that's such a tough word. But the answer is because the Brahmins were so. Endogamy or the closed door system was a fashion in Hindu society as it had originated from the Brahmin caste. It was wholeheartedly imitated by everyone else. And that is how everyone else became endogamous castes. Imitation, you have to remember, always flows from the higher to the lower castes. Given the opportunity, a nobility will always and everywhere imitate its leader, its king or sovereigns, and people, likewise, given the opportunity, will imitate their nobility. People also imitate at times to fit in. We've all done that. But in Hindu society, the Brahmin is basically a demigod, and given the chance, why wouldn't someone want to imitate their gods? Okay, so far we've established the possibility of why caste came into the picture. Now let's try to understand how it works. We know that it's based on endogamy, which means that you can only marry within your community. But what happens when the ratio of men and women is skewed? What happens when, let's say, out of the married couple, the woman or the man dies? What then? Ambedkar calls this the problem of the surplus man or woman. The problem of the surplus woman is a tricky one because she may marry outside the caste and violate endogamy, or she may marry within the caste and, through competition, encroach upon the chances of marriage that must be reserved for potential brides in the caste. She is therefore a menace in any case, and something must be done to her if she cannot be burnt along with her deceased husband. As we all know, sati, or the practice of the wife being burnt alive on her husband's funeral pyre, was very common until the British came to India. Why do you think well meaning, good, and kind Hindus would allow something so barbaric to go on for such a long time? The only logical answer is to preserve the numerical strength of the caste and to also make sure that the woman is permanently taken out of the dating pool. But after the British came to India and demanded reform, the Brahmins said, okay, if we can't burn the surplus woman, we will make sure she is no longer a source of attraction to the men in the caste. And how do you do that? By enforcing widowhood for life. They said that she can be degraded to a condition in which she is no longer a source of allurement. There. Surplus woman problem solved. Now let's talk about the other side. The problem of the surplus man. As we all know, we live in a patriarchal society and men are, of course, superior beings. So if a man's wife dies, you can't burn the man on his wife's funeral pyre. He's a man, he is the holder of semen. So, how do you deal with this surplus man? Now, one way is quite simple, which is enforced celibacy, which means that the man just doesn't have sex with anyone else. But if the man does this, he's still an active participant in the caste activities. He is a danger to the morals of the group. Because, sure, he's taken a vow of celibacy, but as we all know, men are dogs and cannot be trusted to be celibate. So, what do we do? The other way to deal with the surplus man is that the surplus man can be provided with a wife only by recruiting a bride from the ranks of those not yet marriageable in order to tie him down to the group. Now, this is certainly the best of the possible solutions in the case of the surplus man. By this, he's kept within the caste, and by this means, endogamy and morals are preserved. Child marriage. That's what we're talking about here. You marry a grown ass man to a young girl and tell her that, hey, this is your husband now. No maiden can be considered pure if she feels love for a man other than the one to whom she might be married. As she does not know to whom she is going to be married, she must not feel affection for any man at all before marriage. If she does so, it is a sin. So it's better for a girl to know whom she has to love before any sexual consciousness has been awakened in her. So there we have it. Problem of the surplus man solved. And it's not like marrying children off to much older men has stopped. This report of a 14-year-old girl being married off to a 40-year-old man came out on the 26th of April 2022. Okay, now back to the Shaadi.com paper. There's a very interesting section I want to focus on. It's called Openness to Caste in Diaspora. You would assume that NRIs or PIOs would adapt to the cultures of the country that they're in, and we'd have a lot less of this caste nonsense with them, right? Well, wrong. Assimilation and modernization theory suggests that when immigrants move to more individualistic societies, they adopt individualism and the family plays a much smaller role in their individual lives. However, the bicultural model of acculturation contends that migrants retain cultural values in private settings while inculcating the host culture in professional settings, which basically means that professionally, Hindus abroad will put on a mask of progressiveness and in their homes they will be blatantly casteist. I think Ambedkar had said something along the lines of Hindus carrying caste with them wherever they go. And it is true. The results of the paper show that individuals in the US are much less open to intercaste marriage than individuals with identical demographics in India. This result supports a theory from social psychology regarding South Asian immigrants that suggests that immigrants construct an essentialist notion of ethnic identity for self-protection, which valorizes their culture and in this circumstance preserves caste salience. Now, I don't understand diaspora caste Hindus and why they would cling on to the bad parts of their Hindu identity. Not that there is any good part of a Hindu identity, but I can empathize with them being in a foreign land and how that would make them very insecure and confused of belonging and identity and like their culture. So I guess they resort to clinging on to whatever they inherit from their parents. But there is a silver lining. According to the paper, from the 300,000 profiles that they analyzed, people who were brought up in the US were way more open to intercaste marriage than people from India who have immigrated there. But what about Shaadi.com? Is it casteist or does it perpetuate casteism in any way? Yes, it does. And it is. It's merely an extension of the society that we live in. In 2020, Shaadi.com actually got a lot of backlash from the UK government because the website was segregating people based on their caste. And this was a breach of the UK's Equality Act. Anyway, arranged marriages in India are a multi-billion-dollar industry, from like websites like Shaadi.com, Jeevansati.com to people's dreams of big fat Indian weddings, which again is so wasteful. Why the hell do you need over 1,000 people at your weddings? Nobody requires so many people at their weddings. What is the point? I mean, then you have shows like Indian Matchmaking, which on the one hand is a fantastic study of the Indian diaspora and how the rich go about their marriages. But on the other hand, it also perpetuates this notion of matchmaking and arranged marriages, which are basically built on endogamy and caste. It's the popularization of this Brahminical culture that I have a problem with. If we are to annihilate caste and completely get rid of it, intercaste marriages are the way forward. That's what Ambedkar had envisioned for Indian society.
And I think that's where I think a lot of the critique and the pain from queer and Dalit and Muslim and Christian people was coming from, is that we will never be suitable under the caste system, but we are the right people to love if you want to be free.
We will never be suitable under the caste system, but we are the right people to love if you want to be free. The only thing I want you to do after watching this video is talk to your family. Ask them, what would they do if you married someone from another caste? Why are they so stuck up on this notion of castes? Are they unable to let go of their caste pride? Is their ego so fragile that the marriage of their child to someone they actually love would shatter it? As we enter a violently Hindu nation, the best we can do is have these tough conversations at home.
ஊரை சுத்தி பாருங்க இந்த பஜார் எல்லாம் பாருங்க வீட்டை தேடி பாருங்க இந்த சடங்கை எல்லாம் பாருங்க ஊரை சுத்தி பாருங்க இந்த பஜார் எல்லாம் பாருங்க வீட்டை தேடி பாருங்க இந்த சடங்கை எல்லாம் பாருங்க ஹோட்டலும் பேக்கரியும் சாதி பேருல அதை மாத்தணும் என்றுதான் ஏன்னு தோணல ஹோட்டலும் பேக்கரியும் சாதி பேருல அதை மாத்தணும் என்றுதான் ஏன்னு தோணல மாப்பிள்ள பொண்ணு தேடும் மேட்ரிமோனியா அந்த சாக்குல தேடுறாங்க சாதி பேரையா மாப்பிள்ள பொண்ணு தேடும் மேட்ரிமோனியா அந்த சாக்குல தேடுறாங்க சாதி பேரையா ஏ ஆமா ஜாமி நீங்க சொன்னா சேர்த்தா சாமி வாங்கோ சாமி கூட கொஞ்சம் வாங்கோ சாமி ஆமா ஜாமி நீங்க சொன்னா சேர்த்தா சாமி வாங்கோ சாமி கூட கொஞ்சம் வாங்கோ சாமி